Welcome to another episode of Driver Stories. I'm your host, Pam Spaccarotella. In honor of Women's History Month, today's episode is a special one. I'm sitting down with owner-operator Sherrie Brown and company driver Kari Miner. We'll talk about life behind the wheel as women in a male-dominated industry, the challenges, the memorable runs, and the moments that shaped our careers. Whether you're a seasoned driver or a woman thinking about getting your CDL, this one's for you. Let's start with Kari. Kari, I know you grew up on a farm, but tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and how long you've been driving.
My name is Kari Miner, and I live in Des Moines. I grew up out in the country between Baxter and Newton, Iowa. It was just a hobby farm. We had pigs, cows, sheep, goats, lambs, and on the weekends, my dad would take us to the livestock auction in Colfax, and I would always find myself hanging out with the baby animals and convincing Dad to let me bring one home. So that was my fun for growing up. And then I ventured out to big city of Des Moines. I became a truck driver about 5 years ago. I started off in the yard of Amazon, moving trailers, yard dogging and there. And then I went from Amazon to a company that was subcontracted for the post office, and I hauled mail for about a year and a half. And then I was so lucky and fortunate to find that LGT was willing to give me an opportunity to run liquid nitrogen for them. And now that's where I am, and I'm happy to be here.
Okay. I think I'm just going to run down the list and then come back to you, Sherrie. So just to hang tight, because you guys both have some very interesting backgrounds. And so back to you, Kari. What is it about truck driving? What you do before truck driving? You did something different.
I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, so I get that. I've been a little bit of everything. I was a massage therapist here in the Clive area for about 4 to 5 years. And then I was working a lot, 65, 70 hours a week, and burned out. So I took a little break, and then I got back into the working industry, working at a truck stop, Love's Truck Stop. It was a Quick Star truck stop. And I supervised the Denny's there. I got really close with a lot of truck drivers because truck drivers are awesome. Talked with them a lot, and I was like, man, I bet I could drive one of those. And they're like, there's no way. I'm like, hey, I grew up on a farm. Of course I can. I could drive anything. And little did I know I was headed in that direction. And then while I was at the Denny's, I decided I was going to pursue what really, really makes me happy is cooking. I studied culinary arts at the Grinnell College for a little bit, and then just made another decision on a whim to move to Des Moines and start at Amazon and become a truck driver. Bit of a whirlwind.
Yeah, it's been a lot of different things. I can't stand cooking, so hats off to you. It's just not my thing. I think it takes a tremendous amount of patience. And to me, it's very artistic because, anybody can follow a recipe, but making it really good. Like my mom was a phenomenal cook. She just was amazing, and she could throw stuff together and make it taste good. And it's just a miracle. Yeah. So you came to LGT, and if there's anything that's a male dominated field, it's the tanker industry for sure. And so here you are in the tanker industry, and you're hauling nitrogen out of Grimes, Iowa. So what does a typical day look like for you? Because I think you are home daily. You have a set schedule, right? You go Sunday through Thursday, or what days are you?
Monday through Friday.
Okay.
I'm the night driver for the LGT team over here. I now have my own truck. Rodney, he runs during the day, and then I start anywhere from like 2 to 5 o'clock Monday through Friday and taking up the 14 hours that we're allowed, which is great. I appreciate that as I'm a single lady, a homeowner, and I've got toys. So the miles and stops are definitely helpful when it comes to being able to afford those luxuries in this life that I've built a life around and would like to keep. So I'm always nose to the grinding stone and ready to take on whatever they've got for me.
And so do you always start your trips in Grimes?
Yes.
Okay.
I pick up my truck in Dallas Center and then I go to Grimes to load the tank. And then from Grimes, that's where I get my paperwork and my route information. I travel anywhere from Kansas City to Minneapolis, Omaha, a lot of the rural areas here in Iowa.
You do all the loading and unloading yourself, right?
Correct.
You hook up the hoses, you open the valves,
Yep.
all of that stuff. Is it physically demanding?
It is physically demanding. Actually, since I've started, I've always been pretty active. I mean, I like to hike, and I've noticed since being with LGT that this and the tanks, like, just I thought I was very naive when it came to switching to becoming a tanker. I thought I was like going to be able to just drive up to a spot and park and unload out the bottom or the top and not have to back in, but hey.
So how does it feel I went to the Air Force Academy for my undergraduate degree, and I went into basic training and not knowing, not knowing shit from Shinola, man. I had no clue what I was getting into. And my dad, I think he tried to tell me, but it wasn't like that. And so, I mean, we wore the same uniforms, we ran the same distances, we did the same physical fitness tests. I mean, everything about it was designed so that it was equal. And so I never really focused much on the fact that I was doing something different, right? And so I guess my question for you is, do you even think about it anymore, that you're a female in a male-dominated field?
Honestly, I don't. You asked about the physical demands of it. It is very challenging to lift those poses. Also, I'm vertically challenged, so I'm short, and I require a footstool in order to be able to reach the valve. But it's not discouraging. It's just challenging, which is good for my body.
Do you ever feel like you have to prove yourself constantly to the male cadre that basically do this? Or
when I first started, yes, I feel like they were like, "Oh my gosh!" For one, I'm sure with anybody starting out driving, there's always the question: how long are they even going to last? How long before they mess up or cause some damage to where the company fires them? How long before that happens? And so that's always the question: is how long a new driver could be. It doesn't matter if it's male or female, but then also coming in being a woman, they're just like, there's no way she can handle this. There's just no way. There's a lot of the hoses. You got to know which hose goes where and when, and then which valves open when and where. So there's just like, there's stigma. A lot of the guys are like, there's not very many women that can do this. So at first, maybe when I came into the office at Grimes, I felt like I needed to. But after I got to know them, they were just like, anybody can do it. It's just whether they want to or not. So there are people who are like, there's no way a woman could. And then there are a good majority of the men in this industry that fully support the women. And I appreciate those men. And you find them more and more nowadays too. So
how often do you come across other female drivers? Do you come across other female drivers very often?
There's been a couple that are from LGT. Other than that, women driving for other companies, a lot. I see them pulling a lot of dry vans. I haven't seen many, I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it, out in the wild women tankers. So
Okay, so I'm going to switch gears and I'm going to talk to Sherrie for a few minutes. And so Sherrie, tell us how you got into trucking and where you're from. I know you're from Texas, but
Well, I'm Sherrie Brown. I'm originally from Savannah, Georgia, and transplanted in Texas, probably back around 1997. So I guess you can't say I'm a true Texan now. Uh, I've been trucking for like 28 years. My kid's father actually taught me into going to trucking school because he was older than me, and I always loved to drive. Even after I got my license as a teenager, I worked my mom's nerve because I would always hop in the passenger seat. My dad loved it. He can just, chill out. He'd be over there telling me how to move. And then my kid's father was like, "Why don't you try trucking? You enjoy driving." And I was like, "I can't do it. That's for a man, And he was like, "You can do whatever you put your mind to it." And I went to trucking school, and I cried for about a week. and, I literally cried. Yeah, I didn't think I could do it, but I was just so stubborn. I wouldn't let it beat me. And after that, it was just, hey, let's do it. I turned my fears into energy to push myself. And I was a great backer. I was afraid to back up when I actually got out the truck with my trainer. And I lost like 20 pounds because I wasn't eating at night. I would literally pull on the side of a ramp and sleep. And then I would go in the truck stop when nobody was there to get a shower and get food. So I was losing weight like really quick. And my husband's like, "Are you sick?" And I'm like, "No, I'm afraid." And he gave me another pep talk. And that was the pep talk, I would say, that gave me the focus I need to turn every fear that I run into out here into energy. The key was just not to quit. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you some questions because I had a great conversation with you at our Christmas party in Omaha. And one of the things, right, that I find interesting about your background is that you have a son. And when you were driving, you took your son with you.
Yes, that was before they changed the regulations. Yeah, he was on the road with me from the time he was 9 months to about 4 years old when he started preschool.
And then you also told me, and I found this amazing, is that you got yourself a job when he started school where you would run during the week local, and then on the weekends you take a long run and take him with you, and then you make sure you were back on Monday for him to go back to school.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a lot of planning, but I made it work. But those were some of the best times. I got to do a little homeschooling, and I got to still make a living and bond with him.
Yeah, not an easy task, was it, Sherrie?
No, no. I think that's why I multitask so well now.
Yeah, I was very impressed. I think an over-the-road truck driver, right? You have a lot to balance, and particularly as a female, right? Because it's usually the woman who stays and raises the children, and it's the man that goes to work over the road, and you did the exact opposite.
Right. And that was mainly because his dad got recalled to active duty, and he actually had to go overseas. So that's what stemmed me to have to take on both roles at the time.
Yeah. So how do you feel about your role? Do you feel like you have to prove yourself against your male counterparts, or do you feel accepted? Was it different back then versus now, or what do you think?
It was more of bullying back when I started. I mean, I've been out here 28 years, so it was a little different. Over the years, they kind of understand that we're going to be here and we're not going away as women. But at first, I've been told everything from, "You can't drive on our property, go wake your daddy up." Okay. That was just they were just this linear. A woman just couldn't do it, you know. But over the years, you know, you get into a new spot and they're gonna try you. You know, they're gonna see what you work with. And then once you prove yourself and you're not, how can I say, that damsel in distress woman, that's when you get your respect. Unfortunately, some of us go down the damsel in distress road and they be like, why's she doing that? And I'm like, I don't know. That's all you can tell the guys. I don't know, I'm not her. But I've always gotten my respect because the guys will tell you I work just as hard as them or I'll outwork them.
Yeah. When we first started LGT, I remember I was talking to a shop on the phone and I was trying to tell him about something that needed to be done on the truck. And he says, honey, why don't you go put your boss on the phone? And I said, I am the boss.
I love it.
Everybody has stories like that. Do you know what I mean? Is there any stories you guys can think of?
Well, I had one just the other day up in South Dakota, and it was a big 6-foot fence. And the fence was too heavy for me to move, and I couldn't find anybody, so I just backed around it. I literally just took probably an extra 10, 15 minutes and backed the tail around the gate and got to my dock where I needed to unload. And the guy comes up the truck. He was like, you know the gate open. I said, no thanks for the mansplain, but I'm a girl and it's heavy and you were nowhere to be found. And he kind of just walked away, you know, and it was like harsh and direct, but I felt like I was very respectful, but it was how he came at me. He came at me to mansplain, something as simple as a gate swinging, and he's not thinking how heavy this 6-foot fence is, you know.
Yeah. How about you, Kari? Can you think of anything?
Like I said before, I'm pretty short, so I get if there are guys at the Grimes loading spot, I do get razzed quite a bit for being short, but they have learned to respect me because I don't take no shit from them. They're like, when I first started, they're like, you need some help? I'm like, no, I can figure this out. If I needed help, I'd come and ask you. I made it a point to figure out how to not ask for help because I know what that means to them.
Mm-hmm.
So there was this one spot I had to go fill up this portable tank on next to the rail. The first time I showed up there and was asking for directions because I didn't know where I was going, they told me they wouldn't let me unload because I didn't have a supervisor there. I'm like, well, I've never needed a supervisor anywhere else I go, so I don't know. Maybe this is just the way that works for them. Told them about it, and they're like, well, I guess that's a customer refusal, and they sent me on my way. I was like, okay, but then that just stuck in my brain. I'm like, why are they telling me that I can't unload? So they sent me up there again. I had a team of like 5 men just standing there about 50 feet away, just watching my every single move. And I just kept back looking at them. I'm like, do you guys know how to do this? They're like, no. I didn't have any problems with them after that. Every other time I went there, they didn't bother me. They didn't need to watch my every move. So
Sherrie mentioned that she had a mentor. Her ex-husband would coach her on her difficult times. Did you have a mentor, Kari? How about your dad? You've talked about your dad a couple of times.
Yeah, he was. My parents are no longer with us, so I live daily by the positive reinforcement that my parents instilled. I just kind of keep that with me close to my heart, and I just know that I can do anything I put my mind to because that's what I grew up learning. Also, I grew up learning that there are rules, but I also grew up learning that rules are made to be broken. So it's okay for women to be truck driving because there's no rule against it. I keep all that really close to my heart. Live by those values every day.
Okay, so my next question is this. Let's start with Sherrie. If there was a woman that was thinking about getting into the trucking industry or getting to be a truck driver, what would you tell her? Would you encourage it?
Always. You can do it. We make better drivers. Statistics show it. we keep up with more things in front of us where we have more awareness. I mean, we had to birth babies and cook, at one point in the time. So it's just a redirection of our energy. It really is. No matter how we try and say, they say we can't. As a trainer, I tell women, you are paying more attention to your counterpart each and every time. I did a trainer class with a male and a female. The woman picks up on license plate numbers, whereas the guys just probably kind of just tell you what color the vehicle is. Maybe just to make. But we are so detail oriented. Once I get them to realize their strengths, they're like, I really could do this. I was like, yeah, you can. Just put your mind to it and go for it.
What would you tell them is the most difficult part of the job?
The lifestyle. If you're going to be local, you're going to work some long hours, but you're going to be home. The over the road aspect, it can get lonely, but you have to turn it into an adventure. The freedom to stop, to see different sights. I describe my windshield as a ever-moving screensaver because it's different every day. But if they can get past the loneliness with the OTR part of it, they can go really far.
Kari, how about you? What would you tell a woman who was thinking about becoming a truck driver?
Go for it. The world is yours. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean you can't. That word doesn't exist. But yeah, like what Sherrie was saying, the lifestyle, it's not quite like I have women as friends that I don't get to see very often or talk to very often. And that's just one of the things that comes along with it. Because, a lot of people are like, oh, they're just truck drivers. They're out there talking on their headsets or whatever. But honestly, sometimes, and in the many videos that we watch and the trainings that we see, that's a distraction. So oftentimes if I'm on the phone, I'm like, hey, I'm coming into some traffic. I'm going to have to let you go so I can pension. And a lot of times it's just a sacrifice you have to make in order to do this job. It's focused work. And a lot of times those distractions are not worth your life. So you have to keep things short, or sacrifice seeing them at all. And that's what, I guess one of the things that, like what Sherrie was saying, is it's the lifestyle. That's one of the biggest changes and challenges for a woman, especially if you're super social. So, but it can be done. There are, like Sherrie, I'm sure over the road, I've never done it before, but you probably plan and get those social activities worked into your time when you're not driving. That probably keeps you really busy. Yeah.
Right.
And it's just a challenge. It's not a bad challenge. It's a challenge, just like with anything else in life.
What is the most challenging or memorable run that you've ever done?
I'd say that one rail yard run, and that one was pretty challenging just because I had to fight for my right to be there is what I felt like. So
recently you had a run where you got stuck. Do you remember that in the snow and the ice?
Oh, shoot. Yeah. Yeah. I forgot about that. I was in Red Oak. On my way down to Red Oak, it just started freezing, raining. It took me about 3 hours to get down there when normally it should take 2. And then once I got parked and started unloading, I looked up and I saw snow coming down, and it wasn't just like light flakes. They were heavy duty snowflakes coming down. I'm like, oh, great. This is wonderful. And this is also one of those places where you pull in on one side of the building, you have to drive all the way around, and the tank is basically it's on the exit out. So you pull up the exit and back into the tank. And the exit road out was steep uphill. I'm like, oh, there's no way I'm going to be able to make it out of here. So while I was unloading, I'm walking around trying to calculate how I'm going to be able to just turn this rig around. For an hour and a half, I'm just walking around while it's snowing. I'm getting stuck walking around. Snow just keeps piling up. And my first attempt was to try to go up the steep hill. I got it about halfway, and the truck was like, nope, we're not doing this. I'm like, I didn't think you would, but I figured I'd try. So I tried that about 3 times, and finally I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to use my calculations to get turned around. And I figured out how to turn around. I didn't factor in how to get around the building. So I was trying so hard. I was doing like this Austin Powers move, trying to get every little inch I could to get away from the building. All of a sudden, Kelly calls me, my manager. He's like, hey, how are you doing? I was like, oh my God, I'm stuck. I'm like, are you watching the cameras right now? Because I'm stuck. I can't get out of this unless I drive through their yard. He's like, well, what kind of yard is it? I was like, well, it's grass. I can see the grass poking up out of the snow. Like, I know I can make it if I just go through there. And man, I was fighting that option because the whole time I'm like, everybody's gonna give me shit for taking the easy route out. And I guess that's probably the challenge of a woman truck driver mindset too, you know? So finally Kelly's like, grass can be fixed. He's like, if you know you can get out, get out. He's like, just get out. I was like, okay. I went through the grass and got out and everything was fine. Yeah, that was a challenge. I forgot about that. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah. Mine is kind of a little different. So when we first started LGT, we started in the oil fields up there in Medicine Hat, up in Montana, in Medicine Hat, Alberta, and in Montana. And everybody told me, oh no, we'll never get through the customs, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, I'm going to go up there. I'm going to check it out. So we got in the car and we drove up through the customs and onto Highway 1 up there in Canada. And 2 things about that drive I always remember. First off, there's no gas stations in Canada. I swear to you, there's no gas stations. And we almost ran out of gas. But we got stuck in the middle of nowhere. And maybe you guys have had that experience too, where you're in the middle of nowhere. There were no lights. And so we stopped the car. It was late at night. And I'm telling you, that sky was the most beautiful lit up sky I've ever seen in my life. And so I always remember that here I am going to prove to everybody that you can get across the Canadian border. And I end up in the most beautiful place in the world. It was amazing. So
Wow.
I always remember that if you get the opportunity to go to Canada where there's nothing, no fuel stations, nothing, turn off your lights in the middle of the night and look at the stars. They're amazing. So the last question is this. Is there anything else that you would like to add or to tell the listeners today about what it feels like to be a female tanker truck driver? Heavy question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I would say we definitely got to give homage to the females who were out here before us, you know, when they had these duplex and triplex trucks. And, you know, the industry definitely was not friendly bathroom, shower wise for us. The women who unfortunately, you know, got the blunt of some things that men do to us, you know, we have to give them homage because it's better. The industry is better. The trucks are better. We are evolving, even though it seems like we're so heavily regulated. I would just say thanks to those who came before us and encourage the ones who are coming behind us and see if we can continue to smooth out the road for us as women in this industry.
Nicely said. Kari?
Go along with what Sherrie was saying. The road before us was paved pretty roughly, and now we are here to smooth it out for the next generation. And along that smoother road is women's empowerment. It is quite empowering for us to be behind the wheel in a male-dominated field. Honestly, there's no better feeling to know that with the stigma that women are supposed to be at home doing the cooking and cleaning. Well, guess what? I can cook and clean, and I can also drive a freaking truck and a trailer and be a tanker at that. So it's the world now where we've all made it to the future, and let's empower each other. women, like Sherrie said before, also, we just make better drivers. We belong on the road just as much as anybody else. Empowerment is where it's at.
That part.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to thank you both very much for your volunteering to be on the podcast today. And I just want you both to know how very proud I am of you both. I'm just in awe of the things that you accomplished. And so thank you for being here. Thank you for talking. Thank you for sharing your stories.
Thank you for providing us the opportunity, Pam. It's really appreciated. And to everybody who makes this machine work, we work better as a team than an individual. That's for sure.
That wraps up this episode. If you want to listen to more episodes of Driver Stories, please follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. To learn more about LGT, please visit our website at lgttransport.com or connect with us on social media. I hope you'll join us on the next episode of Driver Stories.